Take a bite of your cord and fold it towards you so you get these 2 loops. Now hold everything together in your left hand while you take these 2 strands above and wrap them around each other. Once and then twice. I'm going to take the end of my bite here and I'm going to feed it between the 2 strands below and then up through this window I created. Now I have these 2 ears in the back. I'm going to take the one on the right and peel it downwards. And then the one on the left is going to chase it down below as well. That gives me my new window that creates my cinching action for my bottle. I'll just place it right on top and pull everything tight. Now this works really handy with a diamond knot because you can make a linkage out of it and then attach it to your bag or your belt. That'll be at the end of the video if you'd like that extra knot. This next knot is very difficult to untie unless you know what you're doing, which makes it a great lock for your zipper pulls. So to tie it, I'm going to twist in a loop, and then I'm going to do that 2 more times. Each loop that I turn in is going to overlap the last. There we go. And now I have this window. I'm going to take this free end and place it through on this side. The other free end is going to follow on its own side. Now you guys can see what I'm working here. Now I just need to pull out all the slack in these loops. And then once I think it is tight enough, then I'll pull on the opposing loops to try to get the last of the slack out. There we go, that's getting pretty tight. Okay, now we'll pull this. You see how those turns are separated from each other? We don't want that. We want those nice and tight. So I'll pull out that slack. All right, my lock is properly tensioned now. I'm going to bring these 2 loops together in the back, and this is what's going to capture my 2 zipper pulls. Okay, now I just need to tighten everything. But before I do my final tensioning, I'm going to take one free end and place it through the bottom here. The other free end is going to go through the top loop. Okay, now I'm going to pull everything tight. And you can get this knot really tight. It's not even going to slide up and down on the zipper pulls. Okay. All right. Now these loops are pretty big, but for the demonstration, we're going to leave them. Now for the person who comes up to this, trying to quickly get into your bag, if they were to pull this, it's going to actually collapse the loop onto the knot, and it's not going to come undone. It's going to make it tighter. We don't want that. Okay. The other thing is, if I pull it this way, it's not going to undo it. It's simply going to make it tighter. So the only way to undo this knot without cutting it off is to take your free end and the correct section of this loop and use this as a pull. Now you can only do it one side at a time. There we go. I got this one undone. Now I'm going to take this free end and this correct section of the loop and pull. There we go. And now I can slip off my knot. This knot will give you an adjustable ear loop on your face mask. I'll turn in one loop, and then I'll turn in another loop in the same direction. I'll overlap them, and then I'll pull the loops through each other. There we go. Once I tighten that up, I'm able to adjust these loops and make the ear loops as big or as small as I want them to be. Here it is tied on the mask. I'm going to create one loop and then a second loop, overlap them, and pull those loops through each other. There we go. Now this ear loop is a little shorter. If I want to take out even more slack, I'll simply pull on the bows. Here's a simple loop that'll keep you from losing your keys. Take a bite of your cord and fold it back. Then you're going to take this loop and overlap it with the other. And that creates a window where you see my finger poking through. Now I'm going to take the bite down below the 2 strands and I'm going to pull it up and I'm going to feed it through this window. But before I do that, I'm going to take my key ring and place it on top of that bite. Now I'm going to place it through that window. Now pull everything tight. There we go. And now this loop can be wrapped around my belt loop and then tucked into my pocket. For this knot, you'll take a bite of your cord, place your fingers through, pinch them around, and create a lark's foot. Now, you'll take the free ends of your rope and you're going to feed them through that lark's foot and then pull it tight. So with the lark's foot tightened onto the cord, what it does is apply tension onto my loop as I pull it tight. I'm going to take my phone and I'm going to place the loop against one corner, and then the other loop is going to hook on to the other corner. Now I'm just going to draw it all tight. Okay, we're getting closer here. I'm going to pull in some tension and make sure this is all dressed up. And so this knot gives me a tether on my phone, but still allows me to use the camera on both sides. Now here's a knot to prevent those pen thieves out there. I'm going to use a section of straw to help me tie it. I'll place it alongside the body of my pen, and I'll pull out about 12 inches on this side. Now I'll hold everything together, and I'll wrap overlapping the standing portion of the cord. And with every turn, I increase the strength and holding power of this knot. I'm going to stick with, what do I have, 7 here. Before I finish this knot up, I need to make sure I do an overhand knot in my standing end. So there we go, there's my overhand knot there. And I'll start to pull it tight. Now my straw is going to help me pass my free end through all these turns that I just did. So let me pull this through, pass this side through. There we go, pull my straw out. Now all I need to do is tighten everything up, and I want to make sure that overhand knot that I did is underneath all these turns. So I'll just have to wiggle it through. There we go. Now just pull it all tight. Pull in some tension here. So now that's on there super tight. If I want to pull it off, there we go. But if they're pulling that hard, then you'll probably notice they're taking your pen. Here we're going to use an angler's loop to create a special type of tackle. I'm going to start with an overhand turn and then thread my free end through to create an overhand knot. And now I'm going to take my free end over here, pass it right back through where it came out. My bite, I'm going to push up to create a double window. See that double window? And now I'm going to take my free end, pass it underneath, and then from the back side, I'm going to poke it through that double window there. Now I just need to pull everything tight, and I have my angler's loop. By tying the angler's loop this way, it allows me to capture the standing end of my rope. Now I can finish my angler's loop and form my tackle. Now I have my tackle set up, I have my angler's loops on either side, and I have my rope in a configuration that allows me to adjust how long this tackle is. So here we have this center section. I don't know, it's about 12 inches, but if I were to pull it tight, now you see that I'm coming off the corners of the screen. Now let me pull it back open. There we go. Now I'm back within. Now what this allows me to do is pull tension within this tackle, and now I can hang something in my trunk. So here we are at my trunk. I'm using my trunk hinges as an anchor point. Now I'm going to use this tackle to create a clothesline to hang my gym clothes. This next knot is my favorite use for the Spanish bowline. I'm going to take my bite and fold it backward, and then I'm going to take the two strands and I'm going to overlap them so that I create this pretzel type shape. Now there is a triangle here where my pinky's at. I'm going to use that triangle to form this knot. And so what I'm going to do is gather these two free ends. I'm going to pass them over the top, and then I'm going to poke them through that triangle. Now as I pull everything tight, I'll get my Spanish bowline. And these aren't size to length, but I can take my ID card, and if I'm displaying it this way, I'm just simply gonna poke my ID card up here. This loop is gonna attach in the back on this side. This loop is gonna attach on the front on this side. And now I can display my ID card as I'm walking through the facility. Now you wanna make sure this is nice and tight. You don't wanna lose your ID card. You can see up top here, there's a little bit of slack. But as long as you pull everything tight, this thing will stay put and you're not gonna lose it. For this knot, I'm gonna form a letter N into my cord. And then I'm gonna take these opposing bites and pass them over the top of each other and bring them together in the back so that I form a window. Now that window, I'm gonna use to pass my earpiece of my safety glasses and then pull it tight. There we go. Now I'll do the same thing on the other side. There we go. Now there are holes at the bottom of these earpieces, but I avoid using them because they tend to put pressure on the back of my ears and then the glasses become uncomfortable after a while. For this demonstration, I fused orange to purple so you can get a better look at what's going on here. Now this is going to be tied exactly how I would tie a bowline. I'm going to take my orange side, twist in an overhand loop. My purple side is going to pass up through that loop, around the standing portion, and then back through that same loop. And if I pull this tight, you'll recognize this as a sheep bend. But I can't add any more tension to this system, so to overcome that, I need to add one little detail. And that simply is taking the free end to my orange side and passing it back through the bite of the purple side. Okay. Now I can pull everything tight. And when I grab onto this loop and this free end, it acts as a release for the tension. And now I can pull in more. When I let go, I get to keep that same holding power for the sheep bend. So watch this. Pull, it stays tight. Let's do that again. Pull, it stays tight. And now I can release that with this quick release. There you go. Now if you want to create a linkage for it, you'll add a diamond knot to this side. And I'll do that by simply taking my fingers and separating the two strands. The strand on bottom is going to twist and go right on top. And then I'm going to take it from the back and feed it through. There we go. Now I'll take this knot and I'm going to go around this back post here and up through the center of this diamond. And I'll do the same thing since this is a symmetrical knot and poke it around that standing portion and up through that diamond and then pull everything tight. Adjust any slack that needs to be pulled out.